stories to lift each other, give hope to push us further, and encourage one another. Behind the scenes beauty.
Claire Sulmers lives a motto: why ask for a seat at the table when you can build your own? This Harvard graduate and fluent in French writer and holder of a degree in African American Studies created the fashion blog Fashion Bomb Daily in 2006. The blog led her to multiple opportunities in television, being an author, to her very own online store, Fashion Bomb Shop. This entrepreneur talks to us about the rejection she felt in the fashion world, to how she let that fuel her to be one of the hottest fashion blogs on the internet, with a following of 2 million on Instagram alone. All right, you know what it is. It's another episode of Behind the Scenes Beauty, and today I have with me Claire Sulmers. I'm making sure that I say your name right, because it has an L in it, and it looks like Summers, but it's Sulmers.
Sulmers.
Yeah, so I'm making sure. She is the entrepreneur and the creator of the biggest beauty blog in fashion, Fashion Bomb Daily, and she's also an author. Let's not forget.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you had a book. When did you write your book?
I want to say it was 2013, The Bomb Life.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're set for a sequel. I actually have been writing the sequel for the past 9 years. I really can't believe it's been that long, but yeah.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here, you started Fashion Bomb Daily
in 2006.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, I'm an OG blogger. I was one of the first bloggers at Fashion Week, and just started off crashing shows at Bryant Park, wanting to really work in fashion, not finding a way in and just making my way in, having this dream on my heart and not letting anybody deter me from what I saw my assignment was on this earth. That's really what it was.
Okay, so Claire, so let's get into it. Let's talk about, I want to know how you came from the bottom to
Oh
the
my
top.
gosh. Started from the bottom,
Yes.
now I'm here.
Okay.
Well, where do I begin? I don't even know where to begin.
Did you come from a nice middle class family? Where are you from originally?
Okay, I was born in Brooklyn. I was raised in Atlanta to Caribbean parents. My mother's from Nassau, Bahamas. My dad is from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. My mother was a teacher.
Okay.
She always put a premium on education. I was reading apparently from the time I was 3 years old. So always been into reading and writing. Like I have journals from when I was 11 years old. So I think that writing was always kind of in my DNA. I would find a way to work that into what I wanted to do. It didn't really make sense at the time. But anyway, always loved to write, always loved to read. Went to Harvard. My brother went to Harvard as well. He's 4 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
And my brother was actually the one who encouraged me to go to Harvard. I didn't, there are some kids who kind of grow up thinking they want to go to an Ivy League school. And for me, I always did good. I always did well in school. I always had honor roll. I was a cheerleader and played tennis and all this stuff, but didn't really think of Harvard as something I wanted to do. But it was my brother who encouraged me. He believed in me. I always say he was like one of my first mentors ever. And he was like, come visit me and check it out. And I visited him. I had a great time. I got drunk for the first time at the Kong. And I went. And it was a wonderful time. I majored in French and African American Studies. And it was really African American Studies that stood out to me. I took classes with Henry Louis Gates and Cornel West. And I wanted to be a positive change in the media. And I really feel like in the media, we still have like an identity issue. Mm-hmm. Like we have more of a balance now than we did then. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like they're needed, and there continues to be a need to have more positive images of Black women and Black men in the media.
So question, when you were studying African American studies and stuff, was it always to use it in a media space, or where were you thinking you were going to go with it?
I always wanted to do media because I'm that kind of person who, like, I never thought I was going to go to Harvard. I was like a cheerleader, and I was fun and social.
And
like, I was considered cool at Harvard. Outside of Harvard, I don't think I'm considered that cool. But at Harvard, I was like a cool kid.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I want to do something fun. Mm-hmm. And media and entertainment seemed fun and like a kind of like way where you could have something interesting to do, it not be so cerebral. And so I actually wanted to do TV at first.
Okay.
I wanted to be a TV producer.
Okay.
And I did internships at ABC, NBC while in college. But after college, because we didn't have a TV program and I never actually produced anything, I couldn't get a job in TV. I was in New York, bumming around. My mom was like, come home. And I came home and I was hanging out and I got an internship at Upscale Magazine.
Okay.
I sent them a chapter from my thesis. It was about the Venus Hottentot. Do you know who the Venus Hottentot is?
No, I don't. Educate me today.
Okay, the Venus Hottentot is a Black woman. She was the first Black woman to be introduced to European society. And she stuck out. She was kind of paraded around like a circus act because she had a big butt. So she was like the first big booty girl.
Boy, would she be appreciated now.
Right. It's crazy how, BBLs and all those things are big now and, this booty everywhere. But she was the first, and she was paraded around London and Europe as an oddity. At the time, Europeans considered Black people like monkeys in some ways. And she eventually died of syphilis. They dissected her. A bust of her was in the Musée de l'Homme in Paris. Like they had her genitals in a jar on display. So it's kind of like the first Black woman and the first depictions of Black women in literature in Western civilization. So that's what my thesis was about.
They were like, but wait a minute. So Upscale was like, what did she say?
They were like, come on in. It looks like you could write. And they had an opening in the fashion department.
Oh, okay.
And I started off, in the, like the sample closet.
Okay.
Opening packages. And then I started to write small captions. Then they said, I think you're pretty talented. So then I got to write short articles by the end of my internship. I was writing cover stories and opinion pieces, and they offered me a job. But I didn't want to stay in Atlanta. I wanted to move to New York. Most of my friends lived in New York, and I knew that New York was the home of publishing and media, and so I moved to New York.
So you get to New York, and then what happens?
I get to New York. I had to find a paid internship. I couldn't do the unpaid internship, so I found whatever internships paid, and it was The Nation, Newsweek, and New York magazines. And I got all three, but thought, if I move into New York, what magazine would I want to work for? It was New York Magazine. Newsweek only had summer internships, so I moved here January 2004, maybe.
Okay.
And started working at New York Magazine, $5.15 an hour. I think it was 3 days a week.
We were venturing at the same time. 2004 is when I moved to LA, and that's when I started my whole celebrity hairstyling venture. So we were struggling.
It was rough, man. It was so rough. Oh my gosh. I was staying with my college roommate's mother. She had an empty room. And my aunt, who passed away, unfortunately, she used to cook her butt off. So I would go to her house and leave with 10 Tupperwares.
She was taking care of her niece.
Yes, and I would eat that all throughout the week, and that's how I survived.
Okay, so you're doing that, and then what comes along? Because you worked at another magazine, right?
First it was New York, then I went to Newsweek magazine, and none of these were really in fashion. It was kind of just general market or just learning how to report, learning how to research stories and fact check. And then I went to Real Simple magazine.
That's the magazine.
Yes, Real Simple magazine. They had an opening in the research and fact-checking department. Again, none of these jobs were exactly what I wanted to do. I think if I could have started again, I would have worked at Vogue or something like that.
Well, I was going to ask, so like fashion was always in your DNA? You always knew you wanted to do fashion, or?
Yeah, so my grandfather on my dad's side, my grandfather on my mother's side was a tailor in Nassau, Bahamas. He had his own bespoke tailor shop. He made suits for special occasions. He taught my mother how to sew. My mother went to the High School of Fashion Industry. She would make clothes for me. She always says when I was 13, I was busty. I've been busty all my life. And she couldn't find clothes that would fit me, so she made clothes for me, like age-appropriate clothes for me. My grandmother on my dad's side was a couturier. That's what it said on my dad's birth certificate that I found out. So it's always kind of been there.
In the blood.
It's been in the blood. And then I was one of those teenagers who was always in the mall. I was a mall rat. I loved to shop. You could go back to my journals. Always had a list of stuff I wanted to buy. A shopaholic. Like to this day, I can't go into a store because I will want to buy something. Like now I have to, but I turned that into a job eventually.
Okay, so doing my research, so you sort of started off as doing Fashion Bomb as a blog, sort of like did you have intentions on making it a brand?
No, I had no intentions on making it a brand. I was working at this job where I was basically overlooked and undervalued. I hate to kind of talk badly about this job because it was a wonderful job. My boss was great. We all went to the gym during our lunch break. It was really chill. But it was kind of the perfect situation for me to start something because there wasn't somebody hovering over me like, are you doing the work? And it was kind of easy work. But I started Fashion Bomb because I wanted to work in fashion. I eventually was trying to figure out, what your beat is going to be. What are you going to write about? Are you going to write about politics, beauty, fashion? And I was like, I want to write about fashion. And I was sending off my resume to Vogue and Mary Claire and People Style Watch at the time and not making any traction, not getting any headway. I wanted to move around and was not finding a way. And I started a website, clairesulmers.com, which is still around. And it was my resume and my cover letter so people can find me. This was when websites were just starting out.
All right.
Websites were brand new. Not everybody had a website. So I had my website, and then it just felt boring. So my webmaster, she said, you should start a blog. If you want to have some sort of web presence that shows your interests outside of your resume and your cover letter. And so I started a blog. I didn't know what I was going to write about. I also didn't know if I was going to get fired from my job for having this blog. But I just decided to write about what I was passionate about, which was fashion.
Okay, so what are some of the early articles? What are you talking about?
My early articles are me walking around Brooklyn, trying to see what cool stores were in my neighborhood, buying sweaters from Lacoste and returning them. Saving up to buy my first pair of Manolo Blahnik shoes. It was more personal at first. And then I think somebody wrote an email and they asked me what socks somebody was wearing. And because I was a reporter, I was able to find it. And so that was our first mail bomb. It was the first time somebody had sent in some mail and said, help me find this. And then more people started to send in questions. And back in the day, girls like Beyonce and Kelly Rowland, they were just shopping at Saks.
Yeah.
And they were just wearing Hervé Leger and Christian Louboutin shoes.
Right.
And so people were like, oh, what are those red bottom shoes people are wearing? And so we became that place where people could come to find out what their favorite celebrities were wearing. And then now it's way better. Oh my gosh, it's so much better than it was in 2006. But back then, girls like Beyonce and Kelly, obviously we grew up and we loved them and we knew them, but their fashion wasn't really being covered like that in Vogue. And I think Beyonce even said that when she covered Vogue most recently, that for a long time they would say that magazines featuring her wouldn't sell. Now, if you think about it, that's crazy.
Isn't that bananas?
That's crazy to think about it. But there was a time in our lifetime when Black people were not in Vogue and they were not in Elle. And so
They
around
weren't getting these clothes.
they weren't getting the clothes.
Yeah.
People like Ty and
June.
Miss Tina and June, they had to be and Misa. I mean, there's so many people who I love and admire, but they had to be so innovative and so scrappy and resourceful to come up with these really iconic looks if you look back and you think about it.
Yeah.
And to think that there's a fashion industry that was ignoring them for so long. Like, it's a shame.
Yeah. But as usual, us as a people always coming up and being creative and making our own, and then everyone else jumps on. Even like with the Dapper Dan, you know.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I see so many examples of that. Even kind of the push towards diversity that I think Fashion Bomb Daily, we were one of the first. That even that was co-opted.
Yeah.
You know, like 2 years ago, everybody was like, we need diversity in fashion. And now we have all these new things. And I'm like, we've been over a decade, we've been doing it.
Gotcha.
So, but people who know, I like Carl Kanai interviewed him once, and he was like, those who know, they know. Those who don't know, you better ask somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you have like someone that you sort of like patterned yourself after, like in this space? Or was there any, like, because blogging at that time is sort of, you know, not a talked about thing.
It wasn't. And even now, I still sometimes feel like I'm feeling around in the dark, to be honest.
Really?
Just figuring it out. But somebody I definitely obviously looked up to, everybody looks up to Leon Talley.
Yes.
And Leon Talley, he had the Ivy League background. He loved French. I speak French fluently. I majored in French, was one of my majors. So when I eventually quit my job at Real Simple, I moved to Paris, following in the footsteps of Leon Talley. I'm like, okay, I think he was 28 or something when he was a bureau chief at Women's Wear Daily Paris Bureau. And so I quit my job. I ended up moving to Paris, and this is really the Cliff Notes version, but what happened was I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't getting an interview at Vogue. At the time, the HR director at Condé Nast was like, we don't want to meet with you, not even for an informational interview. We're only meeting with people who we see as potential candidates that we would want to hire. It was so cold. It was like, I had never experienced rejection like the rejection I have experienced in the fashion industry in my life.
Really?
In my life. Like, I went to one of the best schools in Atlanta. I got into Harvard. I graduated with honors.
Right.
So to come to the fashion industry, and I'm like, I just want to write about like shoes and earrings, and they're like, no. I'm like, I don't understand.
Right. And people with fewer qualifications is getting the opportunity. Right.
And I think that's part of what is my drive and ambition, because I'm like, I just don't understand why. Why, if I'm a young Black woman who's interested in fashion, why the answer is no.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
And you know, so I continue to push and push and push, not just for me, but for other people who are coming behind me, because we deserve a seat at the table.
Yeah.
And I always like to say I didn't make my own table. I couldn't get a seat at the table, so I made my own table. And that's what we're seeing now, is there are so many young people coming up who are entrepreneurs, who are doing it themselves, creating their own movement, because that's what's necessary.
So tell us about the time when you first met Leon Talley.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my interactions with Leon Talley, they go in an arc. It's a positive arc. But, you know, when I first started working in fashion, I didn't have all of the nice clothes. All the pictures are on the internet. You can see it. But I remember, okay, so I quit my job. I moved to Paris. I worked at Paris Vogue, and I lived in Paris for almost 2 years. And by the end of my time in Paris, because I had so much time to devote to writing Fashion Bomb Daily, we started to get a really big following. And so by the end of my time in Paris, I was making enough money to live from Fashion Bomb Daily full time.
So, okay, well, let's just step back.
Okay.
Because how do you transition that into dollars? Like, I don't know if people know that. Like, how does a blog now become something financial?
You have to do your research. And I understood that, like, I was looking at sites like Perez Hilton or the YBF, and they had something called blog ads at the time. And you'd have a blog, and then you'd have the sidebar, and you could click the blog ad, and you can buy an ad just on the site right there. So I would click, and I'd be like, oh, for Perez Hilton for a month, if you pay $1,000 a month, you can have your brand featured on Perez Hilton. And so I was like, okay, so I can sell this real estate that's on my website. And I think I created my own graphic that was like advertise with us. And to this day, we still post advertise with us on Instagram. You know, but if you have a following, if you have an audience, an avid and engaged audience, then you can translate that into dollars, because there are brands that want to reach your audience.
How did you know the analytics then? I'm like, now Instagram has it very easily.
Thank God.
You just click.
Thank God. Because back then it was Google Analytics. But I was reaching out to brands, or I would reach out to, you know, ask for show invitations, and I'd be like, we have 1 million followers, and I would screenshot Google Analytics, but I think you could probably Photoshop that easily, right?
So
but now with Instagram, people can see. They can feel the impact. They can be like, okay, Fashion Bomb Daily mentioned us and we sold out of this shoe.
Yeah.
So now it's really hard to deny the impact and the influence that we had. But back in the day, you could be like, yeah, my website. I mean, there were people flubbing the numbers all the time. We weren't. But, you know, I started off selling the ads on the website myself, and then I got to be a part of an ad network. Back then it was called Gorilla something. Now I'm a part of the Blavity Network, which is great.
Okay.
Shout out to Morgan DeBon. But they help to track your traffic, and then they also sell your inventory. So they reach out to different brands and they do the selling on your behalf.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back.
Okay.
Now,
I'm getting carried away.
No.
Oh,
I took us left because I wanted to hear that, because I think that's very important, because I did not know at the time how bloggers really made money like that.
I think it's important, and I actually did a video on TikTok yesterday about it, but just because you have a lot of followers, just because you're influential doesn't mean you're gonna make money.
Right.
You have to find a way. You have to either solicit, be like, advertise with me, and be very clear about it. Don't be shy. You know, we all have bills to pay. Right. Don't be shy about it. This is your business, and make sure that it's clear that you offer that service, and then also do outreach. So I also do outreach to a lot of brands that I want to work with. But there are many ways. There are many ways to make a coin.
Gotcha. Okay, so back to the Leon Talley. So you get to
Andre, right. So I bought my first pair of Christian Louboutin shoes. They were on my vision board. I always write my goals down. It's crazy. Erykah Badu said, write shit down and watch it get real. So I'd written down I wanted this pair of Christian Louboutin shoes, but I'm hard on shoes, so I had worn these shoes into the ground. Anyway, I went to...
You was at every event in them shoes. Huh?
I was trying. They were burning my feet up, man. Just burning them up. But I think it was Rachel Roy, Rachel Roy presentation. I saw him, and I was wearing my busted Christian Louboutin shoes and probably a Zara outfit, and he gave me this look like he was horrified. Like, he looked me up and down. Wait. That wasn't the first time, though. I think the first time I met him was actually, he was giving a talk, I want to say at the 92nd Street Y.
Okay.
Before I was invited to any fashion shows, before I was even in this industry, there were events that were open to the public, whether it was a museum opening or somebody like Andre speaking at the 92nd Street Y, and I went. And I remember I bought a pair of Kenneth Cole red peep toe shoes. They were like $300, which was like the upper tier for me at the time. And I wore a J. Crew Argyle vest. I still have this photo. And pearls, because I'm very preppy. Like, I love the preppy, chic, classic look. But it was extreme back then. But I wore a J. Crew Argyle vest and these shoes, and we took a picture, and I was on cloud nine. So many people were obsessed with Andre, and I was consistently obsessed with Andre. I would write him. I remember sitting in Brooklyn Public Library, with my cranes, pink stationery, and typing letters because I read all his books. And anybody that you're interested in or you admire, like even Robin Gavon, who is Pulitzer Prize fashion writer. She's Black. I read every single one of her articles before I met up with her.
Oh, wow.
So for Andre, I knew that he put a premium on typed letters, and so I typed him a letter, and I sent it off, and he never responded. And it was just like, there was not a lot of love from Andre, unfortunately, at first, but over the years, you know, we grew a special but distant, still not, you know, we weren't kikiing, but towards the end. There was a respect. Yeah. And I always showed him respect. And I think it's important to, you know, I don't know if it's Caribbean upbringing or what, but always show respect for your elders. Don't feel entitled to people's time or energy. And always just pouring love on him. I wrote this one piece because I think towards the end, he was being criticized highly for not helping people get into Vogue and for, you know, not ever speaking up or saying anything. And it's just like, this man was just trying to go to work. Yeah. And he did a good job. He had no scandals. He was a wonderful example of a Black man in America who made it against incomparable odds. And so I wrote this kind of like tribute to him, and I think he liked that. He must have seen it. So then later on, he started to respond to me, and that was great. And then we were going to give him an award. We have an award ceremony called the Fabbies Awards. It acknowledges people behind the scenes and on the scenes making waves. And so we wanted to give him the Icon Award. And he wanted to come, but I think he was very sick. And he tried to get Diane von Furstenberg to come, and we realized that December is not a good time. I know. The second week of December is not a good time to have an event because everybody's on vacation.
Shutting down.
Yeah, yes. So nobody can
that
come.
That in August in fashion world is not good times.
Okay, yeah. No taking. It's going to be in February, and everybody should come. Yes. But he was going to come, and so I think that for me was all I needed. Like, kind of like Kenya Moore was saying, you just want to feel seen. And he, for me, was everything. Yeah. Like, he was and is everything. And without him, there would be no black fashion, I don't think. Like, he opened the door for every single one of us.
Okay, so Andre wasn't that for you. You said how people sort of came after him for not really helping people. I think that's amazing that you walk away not even offended that the acknowledgement, but not really a person that pulled people through the door. Yeah. Who were some of the people that were helping you pull you through the door?
I love Terry Agins. You know Terry Agins?
I don't, but you're about to tell me.
There are like 5 big Black fashion editors that were kind of in the generation above that were doing their thing. It was Leon Talley, Robin Gavon, Terry Agins, Constance White. I think that's it. Just 4. Maybe Grace, Agnes Kamak. And then like Michaela Angela Davis in the Essence field. But I reached out to all of them. I am not shy. I've walked up to Anna Wintour before and given her my card. I've emailed Anna Wintour. I've emailed every single editor of every single editor-in-chief of every magazine. I've reached out to them. But Terry Agins was always super helpful. She would give me books to read. And here's the key. When people give you a book to read or give you a piece of advice, follow it. Right. Read the book. Right. You know, I think that's one of the keys to my success. Also, Bevy Smith. Bevy Smith I had to harass her a little bit, but she came around.
Bevy's like that, but she's sweet.
Bevy had to send her like 3 or 4 emails. Who else was a good mentor for me? My brother. Right. You know, I would benefit from having informational interviews with people like Robin Gavon and things like that. But I think, you know, I never had somebody until more recently that I would call a mentor. Gotcha. But I was always, and I think now if anybody could take something from this. Like, you could just do your research. There's YouTube University. You can read people's books, maybe ask them for one meeting, but having that official mentor-mentee relationship, you know, it's not always going to happen, but that doesn't mean that you can't still push through.
Got you. So
Yeah.
tell me about the transition from when it becomes a blog to now Instagram is on the scene.
Yeah.
And how you were able to transition that into how many millions of followers you have now?
So we're at 2 million.
Okay.
And then at my personal, I'm at 257K. And I think with every new platform, whether it's, we started off with Blogspot, then we went to WordPress, then we went from WordPress, and then it was Twitter was big, and then we went from that to Instagram, and now next is TikTok. So with every new platform, you need to go where the eyeballs are. You need to go where the community is. I know it can be frustrating because new media, it seems like it evolves so quickly all the time, and you don't want to start from zero, building up a new audience. And that's really, I feel that way about TikTok. I'm like, I don't know.
I'm thinking about it too. As soon as you said it, I was like, man,
I
TikTok.
don't wanna.
I know.
And then Clubhouse.
Oh, well, Clubhouse came in and left.
Thank God. I hated Clubhouse.
I liked Clubhouse.
No.
I thought it was great information.
I just felt like on Clubhouse, it was a bunch of people, some who had a background and were credible, but some who were not credible.
Right, true.
Just talking. And I was like, who has time to just sit here and talk on the phone all day? Ugh. Sorry, Clubhouse. But you just got to go where the people are. And you can't be, I think in life, you have to always be malleable and flexible and be willing to evolve and change. Change is constant.
Gotcha.
And so there were some of my blogging colleagues who did not transition over to Instagram, and they wanted everybody to go back to their website. But my whole philosophy is put everything on Instagram.
Right.
Put everything there, and so we were able
Instagram
to.
feel like it was an ease though? To me, like to be able to to be able to just write a caption.
Oh my
and
gosh,
not
it's
have
so
to
much
do a
easier.
full,
It's so much
article.
easier. Yeah. The only thing is now Google SEO, we could write about Beyonce's dress at the Grammys, but then if you Google it, you won't come to Fashion Bomb Daily. That's the only thing. So we do still have our website, but Instagram is lovely, and I think Instagram has changed the lives of so many people, mine included. I'm sure yours as well.
Yeah.
Just enabled to who you're able to touch, who is able to see and view your content, to see like Erykah Badu commenting, or Steve Harvey, or Diddy, or
Okay.
you know, there's all these people that read Fashion Bomb, and it blows my mind. It literally, I can't get over it.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your first moment where you realize it ain't a game no more. Like
There were so many.
I am changing.
There's so many moments. I think the first one. Okay.
I remember. I was working with Iman, and
Yes.
she was talking about. I don't know, and correct if it's wrong, I'll take it out. But I could have sworn you made a mention. She knew you were going to Paris or something, and I think you wanted to get into some shows. And I think she knew someone or something could help you.
Probably.
She was like, oh, she was talking about you. She was like, I'm gonna help her. I know her. I'm gonna make sure she, if I can help her.
That makes me want to cry.
Yeah, I remember distinctly working with her one day and that coming up.
Yeah.
And this stays in my mind. I always remember.
Iman is always so lovely and so kind. I think Kamora Simmons was huge for me, just because during that time in the early 2000s when I was coming up in media, Baby Fat was so huge.
Right.
You remember the Baby Fat shows?
Of course, yes, they were huge. That was actually one of my very first fashion shows I ever attended.
Yeah,
2004.
I
even
crashed those
shows.
shows like nobody's business, and had the best time. And I think I was probably one of the only bloggers at Baby Fat. So I would go in there with my little, what's it called, digital camera. And me and my friend Carlos in there singing loud and having the best time. And then the next day, YBF or Concrete Loop would pick up our pictures because we were the only ones in there. And so that's really how we got our start. But I read, I'm a big reader, okay? I'm like a huge dog, I read Fabulosity. I still kind of, that book is like the Bible. It was the Bible to me. Because in Fabulosity, she was like, gate crash the show. So I was like, okay, that's Kimora Lee said it, so I'm going to do it. But I read Fabulosity, obsessed with Kimora. And so when I met her, and she was like, yeah, I know you. And we interviewed, and like it literally was one of those moments like, okay, you're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Cardi B is starting to follow.
Cardi B and Diddy and I mean all the housewives.
Gorgeous, baby. Thank you for coming out to support. Look at the pieces. Claire Sulmers in the building. This is the Fashion Bomb Daily. She's the #1 Black blog in the world. Just with her coming and covering it, that's all I needed for the archive right there.
We get so much love from housewives.
Okay, so then what about your first television appearance? When someone first brings you on and say, okay, we consider you the authority on fashion now, we want you to come on television.
I used to do VH1's Fabulous Life a lot.
Okay.
But Jigga doesn't like being upstaged, even by his wife.
It's like 3-piece Tom Ford suits that are custom made.
Jay-Z's Tom Ford suits can cost anywhere from $4,000 and up.
I remember I was like a talking head for them. Oh no, Rip the Runway.
Okay.
BET, Rip the Runway.
Okay.
And I remember I did it with like Ray Holiday and Gabe from Stuff Like People Like, and Gabby, Greg. And I was so nervous. Like, and I remember my mother watching. My mother's kind of like a helicopter mom. I don't know if you could tell, but she don't play. But she watched, and normally she's like, "You did a good job." At that time, she was like, "You were nervous. You could practice." I'm like, okay.
She was holding back none.
She does. My parents are so funny. They're like the worst trolls in the world. There's literally nothing that anybody can say to me that would hurt my feelings, because my parents just like, they keep it real. Especially my dad, rest in peace. But first it was Rip the Runway. Then I did, I remember doing 106 in Park.
I have so many questions about this look. Was it laundry day? Was she going to the gym? Was she going to the Sunday school at church? It just looks so disjointed. This look doesn't make any sense to me.
What do we think of this look?
Well, if there were a who or a better between Rita Ora and Beyonce when it came to bunny ears, I think Beyonce won,
shady.
right?
And that was really one of those career-changing moments where I was like, this is a goal, and I want to do it, and I did it, and then, just continue to do it.
Okay, so then you started doing Fashion Bomb TV.
Yes.
Which you have a YouTube channel.
We do.
And you've done interviews and stuff, so how was that transition? Because it's easy to type, but now, and you're doing segments, but those segments, what they're giving you now, you're producing it. And then, so what's that been like?
It's all a learning experience. And I was telling you earlier, there are some interviews where I look at and I'm literally
cringing.
So nervous.
Right.
But it's interesting. I as I said, I have journals from when I was 11. So I recently looked at one from 2001. I was 21, or 20 or something. And I was like, Claire, you can be a leader, and you need to be a leader, and I know you're afraid, but don't be afraid. What is fear? Just look at fear in the face and say no. So it's one of those things where, and it's crazy how I'm in many ways I'm different, but in many ways I'm the same as that young girl who wanted to make a difference, who wanted to be a pioneer. We're all afraid.
Yeah.
We're all figuring it out.
Yeah.
Nobody is perfect.
Yeah.
But what we do and what you do, which I really love and admire, is that you just put one foot in front of the other. Even if you fall on your face, you get back up and you keep on walking.
Listen.
And that's it.
That's it.
Because at the end of the day, God put an assignment on your heart and in your soul.
Yeah.
And so all these inclinations that you have to do things, they are an assignment from God. So you're here to fulfill that assignment,
Yes.
scared or not.
Yes.
So just do it. And don't be afraid. The one thing, it's like, it's the devil in the comments that are like, you can't do it, or you're not good enough, or who are you to think this big? It's like, it comes, you know. So I think most people really do get deterred easily, and they succumb to, like, even the other day, some girl, I think I gained new followers from Essence Fest, and so a new commenter.
Because everybody got a comment.
Yes, and I'm trying to get up my TikTok, because you know I'm trying to like be a TikTok superstar. And she was like, "You are an auntie who needs to sit down," and I was like, "I know that, but I'm still going TikTok. Like, leave me alone."
Right.
And she could have negative comments, or people can potentially deter you from doing what you're supposed to be doing, or what you want to do.
Yeah.
But you have to be the one who looks them in their face and be like, and do it anyway.
Yeah. I had an interaction not too long ago where I just felt like it made me do that whole, like, do I even want to do this? Like, asking people to do the show is a lot, you know? So I'm imagining when you're getting people like Kevin Hart and stuff, you're like, ooh, that's a win.
Right.
But people don't see the other people you ask, and they look at you like...
Oh, the Swift nose. It's so swift. You're like, you didn't even think about it. It's like, can you give me like an hour before you tell me no?
Right. I don't know if, I'm trying to figure out if the immediate no's are the worst, or is it the ones where they give you hope?
And then it's like, dash.
And then they never come through.
Yeah. But I also think everything happens in God's time.
True.
You know, so maybe when I ask some big A-list celebrity for an interview, I'm not ready. Like, you know, I don't have the skills. Because interviewing is a wonderful skill. I think you're a wonderful interviewer. I'm learning. I'm still growing. You know, but the more interviews you do, the more comfortable you become, the better interview you produce. And so maybe it's one of those things where you have to wait. And I think something that I've learned through my career is just to trust God's timing. I know patience is a virtue that I do not have, but I'm learning, right? So everything happens as it should, and to just trust where you are and that this is where you're supposed to be.
So tell me about the time when you start getting the invite. So you don't have to now crash the fashion shows.
Yeah, I had to stop crashing.
Who was your first fashion show where they said, we would love for you to come and sit?
I remember Just Cavalli. I sat front row next to other bloggers who started around my time, like Brian Boy and Rumi and all those people like that. And I started to feel like
the hard work was paying off.
The hard work was paying off.
Gotcha.
Cavalli, Dolce & Gabbana, Versace, kind of the European shows, because the Europeans, that's a different beast.
In what kind of way? And when you say they're a different beast?
If we believe that America is behind in terms of diversity, they're further behind.
Gotcha.
Because at least here in New York, we actually have diversity. You can see it in the streets. It's super diverse. But in Italy, not really. I mean, that's not...
Because weren't you recently? Were you in Italy?
I went to Rome on vacation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were there for all that big fashion hoopla that was going on.
And it's still an upward battle. You know, there are stylists now who are getting invites. There are celebrities, the people with a really big following. It totally makes sense that the stars would go to a show like that. But media, Black-owned media, it's still a struggle. So we march on.
Yeah, I did an interview with Jason Lee from Hollywood Unlocked, and that's his hardest thing. He says that he finds it even worse that a lot of Blacks don't support Black media.
Yeah.
He was like, y'all are all Black until it's time to, support the media.
And now Vogue has hired, because people call them out during Black Lives Matter, places like Vogue, because I don't want to put Vogue on the cross or anything, but they're hiring more Black talent. And so now you're seeing Black talent that might go to Black media completely sidestep us and go straight to a Vogue, which is great, but we're trying to tell our stories from our point of view.
Yeah.
And there are some cultural nuances that only we get, that
Yeah.
we can tell the story the best.
Yeah.
So to always keep an eye out for Black media, because at the end of the day, like, what other Black fashion magazines are there?
And it's a dying breed, because like, I feel like, what is the essence? That's holding on. And
Yeah, and we're multicultural.
Yeah.
We're not only Black, but we obviously are diverse.
Yes.
And it doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
So.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what is like, where would you love to take the empire of Fashion Bomb Daily?
So we have Fashion Bomb Daily Shop. I'm actually wearing a suit from Fashion Bomb Daily Shop. And I started Fashion Bomb Daily Shop in 2018 for two reasons. One, because we were experiencing an issue with our Instagram. It was disabled for 9 months. And we needed to diversify. We needed to find a way to bring in revenue. And so I thought, okay, we're already in fashion. I'm an influencer. So why don't I use my influence to help brands scale and grow their business? So that's what Fashion Bomb Daily Shop is. We have over 6,000 products. 90% are from Black female entrepreneurs. And we're looking to grow that into the global destination for multicultural fashion. There's that. We also have our fashion show, the Bomb Fashion Show, which is coming up in September. Would love to have it more often, maybe even abroad. I'm looking to go into TV in some capacity. I don't know if I could do reality.
Listen, it's a different beast.
Yeah, but I think the goal in general, I mean, I could keep
Well, if you could,
blabbering on
I
forever.
would say if you could produce your own, but I won't put that out there. 'Cause
Yeah,
you might
I want
have
to
an
produce
idea.
my own show.
But in what format would you want to be? Like, would you want to do a competition show where you
No.
get to judge? No.
Maybe.
Well,
I mean, I'm open.
Yeah.
But I think something that really talks to our experience as, educated,
Gotcha.
luxury-loving people of color.
Gotcha.
Do we have that? We have it in some ways, but
Do we?
not really.
I don't think we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we do.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what has been your most monumental moment that stands out to you on the top of your head in your career of Fashion Bomb Daily?
Oh my God, that's a really hard question. There are a lot.
So
there are a lot of like small victories.
That total up to be huge victories.
I think getting our Instagram back was great.
So wait a minute, what happened?
Okay, guys.
I wanted to ask, but I didn't want to be in your business. But
Everybody wants to know what had happened.
What happened?
So what happened was, basically, there are paparazzi photos of people like Beyonce or Kim Kardashian that they might post without a tag or noting where they got it from. And we might repost it because it's a fashionable outfit, not knowing that this photo costs $400 and you have to pay for it. And if you don't pay for it and you post it, and you're also making money from your social media, that the agency to which this photo belongs can come back and charge you whatever they want, really. They could charge you the amount that it costs, or typically it's triple, sometimes it's like millions of dollars. And so we had done this a few too many times, not knowing that you couldn't just repost content on Instagram, some of which you had to pay for. So this agency, they reported our account, and it was disabled for 8 months. We did come to a settlement with them to pay for the photos, and now we're good. And I actually, just to see how good God is, I actually just paid off that settlement a couple weeks ago.
Hey, man.
I'm about to be balling. But you know what's crazy? Right before that happened, because disabled mean your Instagram is gone.
Gotcha.
We had 1.4 million followers. That was our main source of revenue and income. We had deals with all these different brands that were pending. We had deals with advertisers. They were supposed to be posting, and it was just cut off.
Right.
So 90% of our income was gone. And we still had 100% of the bills. It was one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with. But right around this time, we were approached by a company to purchase Fashion Bomb Daily. Like, we were about to get acquired. This company also offered me a job. And
now, did you want to do that? Were you scared about giving over?
No, I was not scared. No, I was not scared.
She was
because
not.
a lot of entrepreneurs look at their businesses as their babies.
Right.
So this is a 16-year-old child. I
Right.
mean, back then it was a 12-year-old.
Right.
So I'm like, there's gonna come a time when you need to go. You need to go. Okay, I'm tired. I'm tired. And blogging and social media, this is a grind.
Yeah.
Like, it's every day.
Right.
It's Christmas.
Right.
It's holidays. It's vacations.
Yeah.
Nobody cares if you're on vacation.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Right.
You still have to do your job until you get the team to handle everything. But you can't always ask your team to post on Christmas.
Right.
So I'm posting on Christmas. I'm posting on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, whatever.
See, people, I don't think people really realize that you still have a hand in what goes up. Like, it's not just you gave it off to a team.
Well, we do have a wonderful team. We do, but there are limits. You know, people need to take. I don't always take vacation. I always say I don't take vacation, but I just came back from vacation. But people they need vacations.
Yeah.
So people take vacations, or they might leave, or there might be somebody who, right now we're kind of in between phase, and somebody's on vacation. So I still post occasionally, but I don't ever want people to think or to say that I don't have a team behind me. The only reason people don't see my team is because I used to put my team up. We used to publish team pictures, and I think the last one I posted, they were so mean. Like, commenters were so mean, and I was just like, and then introducing team members to an audience, I see is kind of like introducing your kid to your new boyfriend before it's serious.
And you don't know how long.
Leave.
Right. Exactly.
They might leave.
Exactly.
It's happened before. So my team is anonymous, and most of the people that we look for are just hard workers, and they don't want to be the face of a brand. They don't want to be out there, and I appreciate that. So I don't show my team, but I do not do this on my own. There's literally no way I could do it on my own. What was I talking about?
What were we talking about?
Oh, selling fashion bombs. So I was about to do that.
Yes.
And the minute and like there were papers on the table, like this was like about to happen. And the minute our page was disabled, they disappeared.
Oh, wow.
So imagine. And so they disappeared for a short time, and then they reappeared, we continued talking. And they discussed, helping us to pay this settlement and still going through with the acquisition and hiring me. But eventually they didn't do it.
Right.
And so I had to, I thought I was gonna have to declare bankruptcy. I thought I was gonna have to move back and live on my twin-size bed in my mother's house. Like, it got really bad. I was looking for a parachute, a lifeline, and I thought I had one, and it disappeared.
Right.
But that's when I really got closer to God, more faithful, got really scrappy. We started Fashion Bomb Daily Shop. I started doing keynote speeches, even though I'm afraid of public speaking.
Right.
Started being a host, grabbed the mic, did what I had to do to keep the income flowing in, and eventually we got our page back and paid off that settlement on my own.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, didn't need any lifeline.
Yeah.
I didn't need anybody to help me. It took me some time, but I did it. And I'm really proud of that, because it shows that you can do it. Mm-hmm. Anybody, like, whatever you encounter in life, if it doesn't kill you, it's gonna make you stronger. You can do it.
Yeah.
It's totally possible. You're gonna have to take a step back maybe and not have all the flashy things or something. You might have to sacrifice, but
let me tell you,
you can get there.
As they say in church, you didn't look like what you was going through. Let me tell you.
I know. And you would never know. You would never know. I show up and I'm like,
you was always,
smiling.
let me tell you, God was carrying you through.
Amen.
Amen. Oh my God, Claire, I have a newfound respect. First of all, too, I do want to give you your flowers because I do notice, and every time that I've seen you do any TV appearance or anything, you are always making sure that you are wearing a Black designer.
You've used your platform in a very powerful way. You have gone out and you've been tireless in your search for emerging designers of color, so that you can use this hugely successful platform that you created to help others get through this fashion door that is so often closed, to your point, whether it's plus size, whether it's people who aren't from the New York, LA area. Why is that so important to you?
Well, when I first started in 2006, there were only 2 designers of color, 2 Black designers who showed during Fashion Week. And this issue of diversity and inclusion has been a very big one and a very poignant one over the course of several years. And for me, I'm always looking to be the change that I want to see in the world. And if I see wonderful designers who might need help with promotion, who might need help with marketing, who might even need help connecting with different stylists to place their items on celebrities, then I felt that I could be a vessel and use my platform to make that happen.
You're always pushing Black people.
Yes.
And the fact that you didn't necessarily have that, but it's in you to do. I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
so I first of all want to just let you know that I think that it's all coming back to you. You're sowing seeds. You might not sow it then, but it's all coming back to you. It's still coming. It's still coming.
And I'm wearing this is a Black designer. Her name is Oyemwin. She's Nigerian American. These shoes are by a Black designer. They're called Shop G Lux. And then, I understand that people are still kind of dazzled by the labels. Like, I think a lot of people, especially in our community, think that wearing a bunch of labels automatically makes you fashionable. Yeah. And I'm not hating on them. I'm not hating on it.
Right.
It's not always true.
No.
But I also know that you have to speak to your audience. So Gucci. But I always think that you can mix it up.
Yeah.
Like, why not mix it up? Why not wear an earring from a Black designer? Like, there's literally no reason why every single red carpet for every single Black movie should not have everybody wearing something by a Black designer. Yeah. And it doesn't happen. And I've called people out about it before, and especially Black Lives Matter was this whole, eureka moment for everybody that we knew, I think deep down inside we knew that it would come and go.
Temporary.
Like, it would be like, yeah! And not be like back to whatever they were doing before.
Right.
But I think it's important, it's incumbent upon us in our community to understand that to whom much is given, much is required. We are not at a place yet where we can just do whatever we want to do. Yeah. And I've seen that before with stylists say, like, it's not my responsibility to help out the Black fashion community. They really say that when they have this wonderful platform and understanding that there's still not full equality in the United States. Yeah. Like, we're still not at a place where we have a Black designer who's on the same level of a Tom Ford or a Michael Kors. And we can get there. There are so many talented designers in our community, whether it's Oyemwin or Laquan Smith or Kirby Jean Raymond or Christopher John Rogers. I could keep going. Yeah. And there are so many more that I'm discovering day to day. So my call to action for everyone is to try to support the Black fashion community, support Black designers, support them with your dollars and resources. And, wear your Gucci. You can wear your Gucci and you can wear your Oyemwin too.
That's right.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed this more than what not that I didn't think I would.
You were like, I'm not gonna. She's boring.
No, not at all. I didn't know you that well. But I can't believe this is all sounding wrong. I can't believe how much of an interesting person that you are. Like, you are above. I guess because you're so quiet when I see you.
You're quiet.
You're very understated. Like, we did a thing for Dark and Lovely one time together. I saw you at Essence Fest. You're very like, hey, and that's it.
I drink water and I mind my business. Okay.
Drink water and mind
I drink water and mind my business. Mind my business. And I also think that a lot of times, especially with Fashion Bomb, the message can be lost because we know it's not It's not always so serious.
Yeah.
You know, we want to have fun. Fashion and beauty is so much fun. And I have a lot of fun doing what I do and representing the diversity of just people who are dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter if you have a bunch of gold teeth, or it doesn't matter if you're an A-list celebrity. If you are fly, then you're going to be on Fashion Bomb. And I really, truly enjoy that. But I also think it's important to know that we still have such a long way to go in the fashion industry. So, you know, it's our time to make a change right now.
Thank you so much, Claire. Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to tell people?
I already promoted my thing, honey. Fashion Bomb Daily Shop. Okay, shop.
Go there.
Get this look.
Get the look.
And also, I want to say, you know, for all Black businesses, and you know, give us some grace. You know, we're not
very hard.
You know, we're not Amazon. I'm sorry, we're not Zara.
Right.
We're not Net-a-Porter. Having stuff ready to ship takes a tremendous amount of resources.
Yeah.
It means having 100 of these suits available, even if nobody buys it, right? And so what we do at Fashion Bomb is we say, give us a couple weeks, 3 weeks to get it to you. But people get so upset or they don't read, and I'm just like, give not just Fashion Bomb Daily Shop, but all brands some grace, especially entrepreneurs who are trying to make a way right now, because it's not easy, but we're creating a new reality for ourselves right now.
That's what's up.
Okay,
All right.
that's all.
So make sure you guys follow Fashion Bomb Daily. Make sure you go follow Claire's personal page so she can get up to that 1 million. And,
oh, yes.
And make sure you go and support and shop and buy on Fashion Bomb
Daily Shop?
Daily Shop.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mwah.
Behind the scenes beauty.